It's often called the Silicon Valley of India. Bengaluru is known for a lot of things, good weather, its IT hub, but it's also infamous for its terrible crumbling infrastructure. Long traffic jams, flooded roads. Remember the floods when the lakes of the city overflowed and many parts were underwater? One of the biggest examples of terrible infrastructure was seen then. Now, Bengaluru has 28 of the total 224 seats in Karnataka and contributes almost 60% of the state's total income. A decade ago, moving to Bengaluru was an aspirational dream, but brand Bengaluru has taken a hit because of infrastructure. It's not just infrastructure, it's also safety of women, a lot of issues that have come up. Are they getting enough focus in this election as we see campaigns roll out? And why should they not? We want to focus on what the urban voter also needs. And joining me to do that today is Viren Shetty, Executive VP of Narayana Health, Prathibha Prahalad, renowned artist, with me on the show today, and Anirudhan, founder of Citizens Agenda for Bengaluru, joining us. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us on Beyond the Headlines special. Mr. Shetty, let me begin with your take. You're a successful entrepreneur. We've seen Bengaluru become known not just in India, but around the world for its entrepreneurial spirit. But do you think enough focus is given to the basic infrastructure required to really channel that creativity and ability?
As much focus as can be made, I believe, is being done. It's just that the city has grown well beyond the boundaries of whatever Kempegowda had set out hundreds of years ago. It's grown because people from all over the country, and in fact, Indians from all over the world, when they come to India, they want to come to Bangalore. So it is tough. It's tough for any system that is underfunded, undertaxed, under-equipped to manage with the issues that come up. So you'd see these are growing pains. Now, obviously, things could be done a lot better. All the infrastructure could be better, but it's difficult to pay for it because we just simply are a very undertaxed country.
Now, you're an undertaxed country, but you're not an undertaxed city. Like we mentioned, the contribution of Bengaluru to Karnataka's revenues is massive. It's outsized. It's oversized. Do you wish some of the political rhetoric and campaigning also focused on these urban issues? I mean, we just finished talking about how the current hot potato issue seems to be why Amul is making a bigger entry into Bangalore. And more about language, regional pride, etc. All of these are important issues. Who's talking about your crumbling infrastructure? Wouldn't you wish that was on someone's, political platform?
Of course, I can wish that, but the math doesn't suggest it. You see, Bangalore doesn't contribute 70% of the seats of the Karnataka State Assembly. The rest of the state does. Now, who's there to say that one is more important than the other? So if you were to redraw the electoral map in contribution in percentage of the GDP, then yes, then these would be top of mind. And that's probably why Delhi, which is just an entire urban agglomeration, has much relatively better urban infrastructure compared to Bangalore, which has to deal with a massive rural population. So I'm not saying that one is better than the other. Obviously, things could be done a lot better, but whatever little is done can be spent a lot better. There's not a lot of local level empowerment of resident associations. There's not a lot of devolvement of power. Things tend to be a lot more concentrated on big flashy projects and not enough on the basics of keeping, sewage lines repaired, road potholes filled. But, that doesn't win your votes. So I guess it just gets lesser importance.
So Viren Shetty has resigned to the fate of, politicians not bothering too much about what the citizens and residents of Bengaluru, or not just Bengaluru, why urban areas in Karnataka will need. Sandeep, what do you think are the key issues? And don't you agree that these should now also be forefront and center front? This is the opportunity for voters to make their voice heard. They have to listen to you right now.
True, Tamanna. Tamanna, the unfortunate situation in our country is that we have very low legal literacy. We have very low awareness of our constitution. The issues of devolution are written into our constitution. The 74th Amendment, which was passed in 1992, if I'm not mistaken, it's been 30 years. It's not implemented. What does the 74th Amendment say? It says that the city should have an autonomous planning committee as the planning authority. It also says that the city government should be devolved, decentralized, and unified. It simply states that the city should have its own government. 30 years on, we don't have it. And it is a very sorry state of affairs that citizens who are even literate and educated, highly educated, are unaware of these provisions of the Constitution. In simply put, this is the law, and the state government has been in violation of the law for the last 3 decades, which is why Bengaluru, which is one of the biggest contributor of taxes, not just to Karnataka, to the entire country, does not get its fair share of representation. What we actually need is a devolution, as per the 74th Amendment, of three things: of funds, of functions, and functionaries, which simply put says we need to have a mayoral system in place. All the different services that the city government should actually be managing should be brought under the city government, not have 20 different parastatals which are run by different state government bodies. They all muddle around. None of them are coordinated. We do not have a master plan at the moment. One of the largest cities in the world does not have a master plan. Please remember that. And why we don't have that? Because the Metropolitan Planning Committee, which was formed as per the 74th Amendment, does not have members. The state governments keep it impaired so that we do not get a proper master plan. At the same time, the state can keep announcing a whole plethora of projects for God knows what reason. None of them are coordinated. Funds are spent like crazy, but they do not benefit the city. What the city asks for: proper master planning, a public transit infrastructure, a proper footpaths, non-motorized transport, last mile connectivity. These things are not addressed. At the same time, the environment of the city has been ignored to the point where from 70% in 1970, we now have only 2% green cover left. Same with water bodies and wetlands. We have only 95% of our wetlands left.
No, but my question is, my question is, why are these not issues? Sandeep, I know you talk about these issues 365 days a year. You've been talking about it for the last 5 years. Is anyone listening to you before the election?
That's
there will be contenders in your constituency. Are you going to go and talk to them and say that, listen, now this is the time you listen to me?
Yes, we have been making these demands. In fact, a group of civic organizations just last week released a manifesto for all political parties. And these are all items on that list. We are talking of not wasting money on unnecessary infrastructure projects, utilize them for social welfare, utilize them for well-planned activities, use it for citizens' benefit. Right now, the government seems to be working for middlemen and political gains. And in fact, the political parties have gone to the extent of saying, let's not discuss civic affairs in these elections. Why?
Which is why hijab, quota, what you write on milk and curd packets becomes key issue. Prathibha, Prahalad, does the citizen have no responsibility, or are we just going to sit on debates like this and crib? Honest question. It's our job as well, right? To go out there and make our voice heard instead of just saying on WhatsApp groups that nothing changes.
I think a lot of citizens are involved in trying to make their voices heard, but what happens in electoral politics is something that all of us know, and that is the caste divide. It's a simple mathematical issue of how many people get what are the areas, and it's a demographic kind of a election of caste divide, and they just work on giving reservations. They go on giving quotas, and they go on giving quotas within quotas to OBCs so that they can garner votes from that particular community. So our elections have never been about the mainstream issues that we need to focus on, as a state, as a city, or as a nation. We have always, we always beat around the bush. We go around the bush, and ultimately, when it comes to elections, we talk about caste politics. We talk about issues like you yourself said, hijab, or Tipu Sultan, or 4% quota to OBCs and things like that. as a Bangalorean, I was born in Mysore, brought up in Bangalore, and I have seen Bangalore grown into in an amorphous way, into a large kind of a, area which has no direction, no infrastructure, and no proper urban, civic amenities. The problem with Bangalore is it was never meant to be such a large city. It was meant to be a small city for retirees, and it was meant to be a small city where people could just go and enjoy the weather and, have a peaceful life. Today, Bangalore has grown so much that it's unrecognizable. And it has grown in all directions. And we have seen in the last, in the last 6 months or 1 year, when the rains came last year, that most of our infrastructure that we talk about in Electronic City, Mahadevpura, and all those constituencies, they were flooded. And these are all new projects where they should have made, proper drainage system. There should have been no encroachments. There should have been, proper urban planning. But who is to take these people to account? The problem here is lack of accountability, because it's only before an election that they come to ordinary citizens like me or you to ask for our votes and to ask what our problems are.
But can I tell you,
they don't care about us. They don't care about what we have to say or what we say.
One set of stakeholders who have clout, one set of stakeholders who truly have clout right now and whose voices can be heard. Viren Shetty, unfortunately, I'm going to point to you on this panel. The fact that there is a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem, the pride of this country, the startup ecosystem is in Bengaluru. Well, it's time to demand. Right now is the time to demand, create pressure, go with your lists of things to fix, and not just wait for, the next infrastructural disaster to hit. Is that happening, or is everyone coming from the point of view कि कुछ होना तो है नहीं? Why?
Everyone wants something done until there's an impact on themselves. So the rains, right? There are parts of Bangalore that get flooded every year because they were built on reclaimed lakebed land. And when it does get flooded, you have a bunch of very literate, very engaged, very socially active people twittering away and saying, this is horrible, this must be done. And then the bulldozers come in and they start to do a census and a survey, and they figure out, oh, wait, actually, it turns out that a lot of you elites happen to be living in apartments that are built on top of these here, the Raj Karways. These are these drainage canals that move water out. And then when the demolition starts, then everyone says, oh, wait, no, I was talking about something else. No, this is not what I want. Similarly, it's one thing to say that infrastructure should be better and things should be done. I recently had to pay my property tax. I live in the fanciest part of Bangalore. I paid 14,000 rupees for the year. I have the ability to pay many more times that. I stand alone in that. If my neighbors were to pay, let's say, add another zero to this, which they can very well afford in property tax, which can get good roads, pay for schools, pay for all the things that it actually costs to keep a thriving community, and then everyone throws up the hand and says, no, the money needs to come from somewhere else. So it's not as simple as that. Obviously, we need more, but there is a bit of give and take as well. We can have a good transportation system, but then the flip side of that means there has to be a lot more concentration on public transport. We can have better connectivity, but that means there are certain very large developments in a place like Whitefield where you'd have to bulldoze a road through because they've occupied most of the land there, and there's no cross connectivity between multiple roads. Well, nobody wants that either. We can have devolution of powers, but that means certain people in power need to give up certain authority for them, which again, they may not be happy about. We can have greater urban densification if we increase the floor space index, but then a lot of people who are sitting on large parcels of land will not be happy with that either, because now suddenly their land is worth a lot less. So yes, I mean, we should have these things, and there's scope for rational, nuanced debate about it. But I mean, when was the last time since social media was invented that we ever had nuanced and rational debates that really substantively engage on topic?
Well, so which is why you have television debates for that nuance. But Viren Shetty, kudos to you. I've never heard anyone saying that I don't mind paying more tax. So just, an appreciation of that. And he has a point, Sandeep Anirudhan. People want to cry about these things, but are they willing to come forward and, maybe give up their second, third, fourth vehicle to improve the traffic situation? Use public transport more.
Tamanna, it's not just Viren. I'm sure all my neighbors will be willing to pay more tax. provided that money is utilized for public good. Most people crave that we give a lot of taxes, but they are misused.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
The reason, what we need to fix is the system. We need a systemic fixing of this. And I'm sure Viren, Prathibha, and you understand that if the simplest way to address it, if there is a law implemented, you have the 74th Amendment. I'd appreciate if everybody who's educated at least reads 74th Amendment. Bengaluru happens to be the only city, in fact, due to court orders, have implemented one aspect of the 74th Amendment, which is to have ward committees. Every ward has a ward committee, which means citizens in every ward are actually engaging with the civic body on a bi-weekly basis. Ward committee meetings happen every alternate week. I'm hoping that all these educated people in Bengaluru attend those, because there is a way to immediately influence our neighborhoods and how it is administered. And the third big point I'm trying to make is that the Minister of Urban Development at the center, Mr. Hardeep Puri, he has expressed frustration, I think, in 2021 that the 74th Amendment is not being implemented by a single state government. The reason being, in the amendment, it says that the state governments can implement the law on their own. There is no imposition. So he wants it amended. He's gone on record to say, I want to amend it to make it compulsory. Now, that's a big battle, because to get an amendment on a national legislation is quite a challenge when, as Viren rightly pointed out, most state legislatures don't want the state government to give up the cash cows, because mostly these happen to be the cash cows of the state. Now, this is where the conflict of interest is. But if citizens rightly understand that devolution, as Gandhiji rightly said, he said in his Hind Swaraj that what I need is Swaraj, I don't want independence or freedom. And most of us don't read what a father of our nation said. He's clearly laid out a path in Hind Swaraj 100 years ago on how our country should develop, what it should have, what elements of democracy it should have, and
other issues that Prathibha, Prahalad, the point is also to attach accountability. You talked about accountability. Politicians will come to voters with what they need if they think they will be penalized for not bringing the right issues to them. Are we seeing enough of voter turnouts in urban constituencies? Are we seeing enough people even go out to vote who have views on how the infrastructure of the city should be? Yes.
We are often confronted with urban apathy when it comes to voting, Tamanna. You know it, all of us know it. And the reason being, one of the main reasons is that people feel that their vote does not count. In this, very, very accentuated atmosphere of caste politics, we just feel that, okay, so we go and vote and nothing happens, nothing counts. So a lot of people stay back home. And I urge them not to stay back home, but to go and make their vote count. Having said that, long time ago, almost about 20, 25 years ago, there was a theory that there should be the right to recall an elected representative, who fails to deliver on his promise. And that has not happened in our country. So as long as there is no accountability, as long as you cannot fix accountability, as long as there's no right to recall of these candidates, we are going to face these issues time and again. Let me tell you, because, I think Viren Shetty is very idealistic when he says that, that people don't pay. People are willing to pay, like Sandeep says, provided their money counts for something tangible that they can see, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of metro, in terms of, whatever else. I mean, water problem, in terms of electricity problem. Now, summer has started. I'm sure, Bangalore will face water crisis,
for a lot of
electricity crisis. Either there's a drought or there's a flood. So
exactly. No, but frankly, for a lot of governments and government agencies, the problem isn't as much as money, but the ability to spend. There's no
rainwater harvesting. There's no... Right. That's what I'm trying to tell you, that, look, on the one hand, you have drought, or the other hand, you have, floods. There's no rainwater harvesting. There's no, proper garbage kind of, management of the garbage. The metro, we have problems in Bangalore. The metro can't go everywhere. So there are still, the metro construction is very, very slow. The buses are not really very, easily kind of accessible. So it's very idealistic to say we should take, more public transportation. We should, go, how do you to move around in a city like Bangalore when you're waiting in traffic for hours and hours together, when there's not enough, metro goes from point A to point B, but it doesn't cover the entire city. And even the buses are not really very, reliable. So I must tell you that, the problem is accountability. The problem is that you need to have,
will voters
who understand the problem of that particular area.
Will voters make their politicians accountable?
Decision. Yeah.
Will candidates who actually want to make a difference be fielded, or will it be on the basis of their winnability? This is an election where some of those rules may be put to test. Let's hope so for the urban voter of Bengaluru. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us on this Beyond the Headlines special. Well, this is just the start of how we chase a very, very crucial election battle. We hope to see you once again for more on this. Thank you so much.